It's reporting season, so everyone has been keeping a close eye on all the reports that have been published in the past couple of weeks. The first CSRD reports, in fact. We're going to talk a little bit about one of the first Dutch reports that have come out by Randstad. So just for everyone who might not know Randstad as well as we do, can you just give a brief description on what the company does?
Yeah, so Randstad is a listed company and they provide outsourcing, staffing, consulting and workforce solutions within many industries. And they do that in the Netherlands, but also abroad. And Randstad really aspires to be the world's most equitable and specialized talent company. So their talents are, well, really at the heart of their organization.
So let's get into it. What is your first reaction on this report?
Yeah, so Randstad is familiar with reporting on their sustainability approach, on their progress, and you really see that in their report. It's not their first sustainability report. What is interesting, last year they also reported on sustainability in their annual statements. And then it was around 30 pages, and you see now it's quite extended to around 60 pages. But that also includes like a clear annex with some ESRS references and some tables, some more data included basically. What I also noticed is that they really focus more on the social and governance topics. So sustainability report is on E, S, and G, and the environmental part that is less included in their report. They also concluded that their impact on climate change is not material, but they did nevertheless include it in their report. So a big focus on social, slightly on governance, and a little bit on the environmental impact, which is basically also what you would expect when you think of Randstad, who is really focusing on their talents. What I also noticed is that they have included, well, a clear double materiality assessment, but then their impacts, risks, and opportunities are more included in the separate chapters. And there is a big focus on positive impacts, a little bit less on the negative impacts, which also aligns, of course, a little bit with the more focus on the social topics and their own talents.
Okay, so that makes sense. No surprises there in any
No
case.
surprises there, but it is interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah. And to what extent does it follow the ESRS?
Well, it does have this clear annex where you see a reference to all the ESRSs. Some reports included more in the front, they included at the back of their sustainability reporting, which is fine. Also important, they have limited assurance from their external auditor, from Deloitte, who has the conclusion, well, and that is what limited assurance is. Nothing has come to our attention that causes us to believe that the sustainability is not, in all material respects, prepared in accordance with the ESRS. Also, a reference has been made to the process of the double materiality, and the Deloitte has also checked that it is compliant with the EU taxonomy.
Okay. All right.
Maybe.
And so,
yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask: is the report's structure logical? Is it accessible and easy to understand?
Well, yeah, it is. It is a lot of text, which also is, of course, part of ESRS. It's a lot about policies, a lot about governance and strategy, and explaining how you did your double materiality assessment. So I do see therefore a lot of text. They have included a clear structure in each chapter, which helps with understanding the chapters. What would help maybe is if you include the annex with the ESRS references a little bit more in the front, but that also makes it a little bit, well, less good looking to see, to read. So they really have a lot of, well, text, and then the annex, you could make another decision there. What I think is they have a clear overview of their double materiality assessment process and the material topics. But if you want to see the risks and the opportunities, and also to see whether the impact is positive or negative, you have to go to the different chapters. And it might be more clear if you already include the risks and opportunities and positive and negative impacts in that outcome of the double materiality assessment. But overall, the information that you would expect, you can clearly find in the report.
Okay, fair. So it's kind of coming back to your previous statement that they've put a a lot more emphasis on the positive impact, not so much on the potential
Yes,
negative
yes.
impact.
There is a lot of focus there, but you can only see that once you kind of scroll through the report. So first you see the topics. You don't know for sure, is it positive or negative? Is it a risk or an opportunity? And in order to see that, you have to go more to the different chapters. And there I did notice a lot of positive impacts, but that does also align with their key focus on their talents, where they actually say, well, we have a lot of positive impact. They focus a lot of diversity and inclusion there, and really tell a positive story there.
Okay. And speaking about kind of impact, are the company's progress and their priorities clear in the report?
That depends a little bit on the topic. So for the topics related to their talents, they have a lot of data available. They have clear priorities, clear targets there. There are also some topics where they haven't identified a clear target yet. For example, an interesting topic is support the green transition through their talents, which I think is a topic where they can have a huge impact. They have a lot of smart talents who can really help with that green transition, but Randstad hasn't defined a clear target or policy yet. They also include that in their financial statement, in their sustainability report. They describe that this is something that they hope to achieve the coming year. So I'm interested and curious about that part for next year.
Yeah. Okay, so sounds like a little bit of a vague statement at this point, but of course they have an opportunity to put more in practice to support that statement moving forward. And
Yes.
you spoke a little bit about the DMA in the beginning, that the process was quite clear. How strong do you feel like the double materiality assessment is, and how well is it integrated?
Well, I think what is very interesting is that their double materiality assessment and the outcomes is very well integrated with the strategy. So when you read through the report, when you read through the statement of the CEO, it's really about equity at the heart of Randstad. And then when you read through the DMA and the outcomes of the double materiality assessment, also those topics come back. So the topics that you would kind of expect to be material, you also see back in the double materiality assessment and then also in their strategy, basically. And I think, as I already mentioned, what could be improved a bit is that you see already the impacts, whether they are negative or positive, and whether the financial risks or opportunities, whether it's a risk or opportunity. And now you really have to dive further in the process. But it is a very clear overview of how they perform the double materiality assessment. They also state very clearly how they have engaged with their external stakeholders and how they went through the process, basically.
Okay, that's good to hear. And from your perspective as a registered accountant, how reliable do you find the data?
I'm very happy that obviously an external auditor has provided an unqualified opinion. And unqualified opinion basically means a positive opinion. It's always a bit confusing, the words we use in this context. But the auditor has said, well, nothing has come to their attention that the data is not right. Also, the data is a lot about their own talents, about their own employees, and that also makes it more easy to collect the data. If you have material topics that are more in your value chain, human rights in your value chain, or the impact on biodiversity in your value chain, that is much more difficult to measure than the topics that Randstad has as material topics, which are really focused on their own employees, their own governance structure. So I think the data is very reliable, but that's also because the topics make it more easy to collect reliable data compared to topics more in your value chain related to more complex topics.
Okay, great. Thank you for that explanation. And from your professional point of view, what could have made the report more fair, more honest, more transparent?
Well, Randstad report is a lot about diversity and inclusion, and obviously that is a very relevant topic always, but now also a topic which involves a lot of discussion, also more political discussions. Randstad has also a lot of services in the United States, so that also results in decisions that they have to make for their diversity and inclusion policies. And currently in their report, that dilemma, the challenges with this very important topic is not clearly included. So I think something that I currently miss in the report is actually this very difficult but important topic also for Randstad. What does diversity, equity, and inclusion mean in these current times where there is a lot of discussion about this topic? So that's something that I actually miss as an important dilemma and challenge for Randstad currently in their report.
Yeah,
Or in their
of
strategy,
course.
basically, and therefore I would expect it in their report.
Yeah. Let's hope to see more of that next year, because obviously this report was on 2024. And what can other companies learn from this report? What are the do's and don'ts that you could take away from it?
Well, what I do like is that the topics that are material clearly align with Randstad's strategy. And also you see that the topics, they don't involve a lot of very unexpected topics, a lot of data collection on topics where they're currently not focusing on from a strategic point of view. So I really think this is like a do, focus on the topics that matter. I do value that Randstad did include carbon emissions even though it was not a material topic. They said, well, we think this is so important and more like basic hygiene, so we have included it. I think that is also something that I would expect for a lot of companies, especially for service providers. It's maybe not their most material topic, but still relevant to report on. Yeah, for the don'ts, well, I think you could maybe structure include more in tables, so less text maybe. So there's a lot of text included. They went from 30 pages last year to 60 this year, which obviously some of it is needed for compliance, but I really challenge companies like, how can you minimize the amount of pages and maybe include some more in very clear tables and less in text? That also proves that you really have the data to prove your point, that you really can show the progress. Obviously, some things will stay text, but data in a clear table, that is where we would like to go, I guess.
Fair. And so that's basically already getting into a little bit of advice. So that's what you would give Randstad to improve their report. Do you have any additional pieces of advice for
Well,
Randstad?
I'm just very curious on their policy on how, with their talents, they will help with the green transition. I think that is such an interesting topic, and I'm very happy that they have included this as a material topic in their report. So very curious about that one, and I really would love to see that next year, how they really make that a more prominent topic in their report, how they can really help with the green transition through all these very valuable talents.
Yeah. Of course. So kind of putting that claim into a real strategy, showing that they've committed to making their talent part of the solution,
Yes,
to understand that
absolutely.
better.
I really looking forward to see how they will do that. And my advice is to focus on that important topic in addition to the other topics they are already focusing on.
Great. Well, I think a great report from the one of the first from the Netherlands. Of course, next week we can potentially dive into another one.